Is anyone willing to share your assessment item, the current level, depth of knowledge level, and then your rewritten assessment item? You want to share?
We have a, this is from a third grade level math assessment, and it's a story problem. It says the circus clown has 18 balloons. He gave each child at the circus 2 balloons. How many children received 2 balloons? But then we thought perhaps instead of, we would say the circus clown has 18 balloons. How many ways could the clown share his balloon equally with children?
Okay. And that took it from a depth of knowledge level, what to what?
I forgot that part.
Okay.
We were too focused on rewriting the question.
Okay, but you got it to a different level, a higher level, absolutely. Great. Does anybody else want to share their assessment item and how it was rewritten?
Okay, we have one. It's the assessment, and there's like 5 questions about inertia and the force equals mass times acceleration.
Okay.
And so we decided probably we don't need 5 questions that are basically our level 2. And so we thought, okay, leave a couple of them in there, and then maybe for a couple extra questions, ask them to, like there's one that could be either inertia or the mass or force equals mass times acceleration, depending on how you would support your answer. So maybe we would say this is an example of both, explain how. Just to
Okay.
kind of,
So providing that explanation in their own words. Absolutely. Allison, you had one.
Yeah, we ignored your rules. And,
Oh boy.
I just want to toss that out there at the beginning. We actually were following what you were teaching us at the very first part, which was to look at our learning target. And this group actually identified that their assessment didn't actually match their learning target in the reverse way, meaning that they were actually asking kids to do stuff at a higher level than what their standard was telling them to. So
Okay.
they're making some adjustments to their assessment too, because there was a question of, and it says know all your single digit sums from memory, and they had some problems on here that actually had missing add-in type scenarios instead of really measuring like fluency. Missing add-in is more algebraic as opposed to fluency, so this will have to be adjusted to really hit more of the fluency type things for this particular learning project.
Okay. So moving it down because it wasn't appropriate.
Correct. Yep.
Very nice. Well, thank you for sharing. Looking at assessment items, there's a variety of them. And we're going to hit on some through our work with you, but we're going to focus on selected response right now, which I noticed in your assessments, pretty much everyone has selected response. Some of the benefits of selected response. Students can answer it very quickly, and you can get a large range of information on one assessment. It doesn't cost a lot to score, and you can get the results rather quickly because they're easy to grade. However, some of the limitations to it is that you don't get that reasoning or that processing behind the student's thinking of why they selected a certain response. And it's difficult to assess those higher order thinking skills. And so what we're going to have you do is do some more reading or watching a video and learning more about selected response for homework before our next session. But an important takeaway today before we give you that homework assignment is to remember that you don't always want to assess the highest depth of knowledge level. We strive to work our way there because we want our students to think more deeply. But you can miss some opportunities to find out what students do and don't know. Performance assessments can offer varying levels of depth of knowledge embedded in a larger and more complex task. So you can have multiple levels within the one task. And planned formative assessment strategies and tools can focus on differing depths of knowledge levels. And so again, we're striving for those higher levels, but it's not to say that levels 1 and 2 are not valuable, because they are. So today, we're going to assign a little bit of homework. There are some video modules on the Michigan Assessment Consortium, or MAC, website that will teach you more about that target method match to make sure the type of learning target matches up with the method you're using to assess. Selected response, which you've got some information today in one of your handouts about guidelines on writing selected response. And then constructed response. We would like you to create one selected response item for your content area between now and the next meeting, following the appropriate guidelines for creating an assessment item.
And we actually adjusted that a little bit. And so
Okay.
if you have selected response items that you've already started to take a look at on your own assessments, it's also very valid for you to decide to edit or revise some of the selected response on the things that you've already created. So depending upon where you're at, if you're building an assessment that you're going to give in the next, between now and when we see you again, then feel free to create a new one if you'd like to. But if it's more advantageous for you just to edit or revise some of the stuff that you've been already looking at today, that's also an option.
Mm-hmm. And Mark, do we have the link to the website on the Google Doc? Thank you.
On the Google Doc, I added a section down below here that says homework for next section. So I articulated the modules to watch at this website, which you can go visit. And then, did you talk about the template?
I did not talk about the template. So there is a template that is provided, and there's a link there to the template for creating, revising, or editing your selected response item.
You don't have to necessarily use it, especially because you're doing it with your own Wyoming Word. But if you wanted something to kind of give you a structure as a starting point, that is a template that we've used in the past project that has the big ideas that should be in the item.
Could you pull up the link just so they could see it, please? Thank you.
So you just, it's a Word doc, you would just download it and then just type in your content expectation or standard, and then the DOK level, and then if you had a stimulus text, and then the actual question as the descriptor, and then the distractors or other options.
If you want to too, with and I know that the math one. So for my math folks here, on all of in the packet that I provided, I knew that selected response was going to be a thing that you looked at for the next time we met. So they have all of that information, like Mark had just pulled up for the math. So if you even look at how they'll put at the bottom of most of those selected response items in that packet, whether it's your grade level or not, they'll put in their key and distractor analysis. So it'll tell you in the selected response, like how they went through and figured out those distractors. And they use that word stimulus a lot within those charts above the questions. So if some of that vocab is a little unfamiliar to you, that packet for the math folks might be another useful resource to take a look at. It's the packet of the smarter, balanced released items.
I was just going to say for lower L, we don't use selected response. I was thinking, should I just use a different kind of question?
Yeah. Yep.
My children don't read.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Might still want to watch the video just so you
Mm-hmm.
to know it, but
We should go back to 8th grade science.
So before you leave today, there's a couple things. Mark has a couple people to talk to about the sketch forms.
We'll go through that.
Okay. Yep. And then if you could, on a Post-it, if you could do a plus delta for us, things that went well, things you liked, and then a delta questions you have or things that you would like us to change for next time. So if you could provide us some of that feedback, plus delta, you can do them on 2 separate sheets, just identify them or put them on the same Post-it. We would appreciate the feedback.